Welcome to The Explainer. So today we're diving into a massive shift happening in Japan's housing market. You know, that long-held dream of owning your own place? Well, for a lot of people, it's becoming pretty much impossible. And that's putting a ton of pressure on renters.
Look, if you've been apartment hunting in Japan anytime recently, you've probably felt it in your wallet. But this isn't just a hunch, it's a real, powerful economic shift. So we've got to ask the big question. What in the world is causing rental prices all across Japan to shoot up to these historic, frankly eye-watering highs?
Let's just start with a single number that tells you so much of the story. 16. For 16 months in a row, the average rent for a single-person condo in the heart of Tokyo has broken records. Every single month. Think about that.
And you know, this isn't just a Tokyo problem. Not at all. What we're actually seeing is a nationwide trend that's getting hotter and hotter, and it's really getting to a boiling point. It's totally reshaping how people live in cities all across the country.
And the scale of this thing is just staggering. I mean, check out Fukuoka City. Rents for family-sized condos there jumped a massive 13.6% in just 1 year. Tokyo's right there with double-digit increases, and Osaka? It's been setting new rent records for 14 months straight. This is not some minor market correction, it's a huge, flashing sign that demand is just completely overwhelming the supply of available homes.
So you have to wonder, what's the single biggest thing driving this rental explosion? Well, it actually starts in a totally different corner of the housing market, and it's creating what some people are calling the priced-out generation. For decades, the ultimate goal for so many was to own a home. But that dream, it's slipping away, and fast, for a huge number of people. And when you can't buy, what's your only other option? You have to rent. And that is just flooding the rental market with all this new, permanent demand.
And just to see how out of reach home ownership has truly become, get a load of this number. 110 million yen. That's the average price for a pretty standard-sized used condo in central Tokyo. And those prices, they've been climbing for 14 straight months.
And this right here, this data, this shows you the breaking point. Even with all this demand for housing, the contract rate for brand new condos has dropped to just over 54%. That means nearly half of all new condos are just sitting there empty because buyers simply cannot afford the asking price.
And the analysts are really clear on this. They're looking at this low contract rate as a major red flag, basically a warning that the sales market has slammed into a hard ceiling. Buyers are tapping out.
So this forces a complete change in how people think. The whole calculation of whether to rent or buy is now tilting heavily toward renting. For a lot of households, it just seems more rational and frankly less risky to accept a higher rent than to take on a gigantic mortgage, especially when you don't know what interest rates are going to do.
But look, this flood of priced-out homebuyers is just one piece of the puzzle. There are two other major forces at play here, and together, they're creating what we're calling the Great Urban Squeeze.
Okay, first up, Japan's economy is getting back on its feet, and that means a lot more people are heading back to the office. You can see it right here. The office vacancy rate in central Tokyo has dropped for 7 months in a row. It's a pretty clear signal that for many companies, the remote work era is winding down.
And as all these companies bring their teams back, the demand for office space has pushed average rents up for an incredible 20 consecutive months. The city centers are really buzzing with activity again. This whole return-to-office trend is reigniting a huge demand for what you might call work-life proximity. People are just tired of those long commutes, so now they're all competing for apartments closer to their jobs, in central urban areas and near major train stations, and that is putting intense, focused pressure on rents in those specific areas.
All right, now for the second force squeezing the market. At the exact same time that demand is exploding, the supply of new rental housing is getting severely choked off. This is a classic supply constraint situation. And the reason why is pretty simple economics, really. The cost for everything, from steel and concrete to skilled labor, are just soaring. That makes it incredibly expensive for developers to even consider building new rental properties. This construction crunch means less new supply, which of course automatically makes all the existing apartments more valuable and a lot more expensive.
So what this all boils down to is a perfect storm. It's not just one thing, but this powerful combination of three different forces all hitting the market at the exact same time. You've got more people who are forced to rent, more people who want to live in the city center, and way fewer new apartments actually being built.
With all these deep structural issues going on, the question on everybody's mind is, What happens next? Where does this market even go from here?
So is this just a temporary blip? Well, the experts really don't think so. The core problems driving these prices up, super expensive homes, a strong economy, and high building costs, they're not going anywhere fast. The general agreement seems to be that high rents are basically the new normal, at least for the foreseeable future.
And that leaves us with one final, really critical question. The entire real estate market is built on this very delicate balance. If rents keep rising faster than people's paychecks, what does that actually mean for the future of living in a city, for our communities, and for the very character of Japan's vibrant cities?